afternoon, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us for these closing remarks. My name is Lauren Clark, and I am part of the Beyond School Bells team, which is Nebraska's statewide after-school network. I'm very excited to be able to introduce our final speaker, but first just wanted to say a couple quick thank yous to the people who made this amazing experience possible. So first, obviously, several of you guys probably have noticed this is a very unique conference and that it was hosted by a collaboration between 7 different after-school networks from across the state. So thank you to each of those networks for the work that you have done. I think this has been a phenomenal experience, and we couldn't have done it without you all pulling resources, pulling your connections, and bringing them into this 2-day experience. So thank you all for your work. Next, I would like to say a huge thank you to our funders. It would not be possible to put on an amazing, high-quality 2-day virtual conference with over 280 attendees over the 2 days without these funders. So I just wanted to say a huge thank you to the Charles Stewart Mott Foundation, Mizzen by Mott, Million Girls Moonshot, and the STEM Next Opportunity Fund. We could not have done it without you, and are so glad to have been able to offer this resource free to all attendees. And finally, we want to say a huge thank you to the DCPV team. You guys have been incredible. I don't know what we would have done if we had to do all this technology ourselves. So thank you for making each of these breakout rooms run smoothly, helping with all of our questions. It's just been a great experience, and we're really glad to have that tech support on the back end. So we would like to close out this amazing experience with a personal story from a Nebraska high school student whose life has been shaped and directed by her informal learning experiences, in the hopes of reminding each of you about the impact that you can have on the students and how important your work is for every child's future. This student's name is Amanda Guiterrez, and she is currently a junior at Pius X High School in Lincoln, Nebraska. Amanda started her STEM journey as an elementary school student in a Math Counts program and has since become a national spokesperson for the impact informal STEM education can have on students across the country. She is a part of the 2022 inaugural flight crew. The Million Girls Moonshot flight crew, for those of you who may not know, features remarkable youth from across the country motivated by their impactful STEM experiences beyond the classroom. And these young leaders are currently working in their communities to break down stereotypes and spark their peers' curiosity in STEM. So highly recommend checking out the flight crew if you have not. These individuals are amazing, and Amanda is one of the reasons that they started this group. These students have such amazing experiences in out-of-school time STEM learning opportunities, and I think it's a really impactful way to remind ourselves like the work that we're doing is very important and has a huge impact on students. So while Amanda couldn't join us live due to her duties as a highly involved high school student, we have an approximately 10-minute recording of her story. She shares a little bit about where she started, where she hopes to go to next, and it was all because of her out-of-school time experiences.
Hello, my name is Amanda Guiterrez, and I'm a junior at Pius X High School in Lincoln, Nebraska. I am so honored and excited to be part of the Ready STEM Go conference this year. Today, I would like to talk with you about 3 things I've learned through participating in after-school programs and other educational experiences that happen outside of the traditional classroom. The importance of early STEM youth outreach, how to help students take advantage of opportunities, and encouraging your students to never give up. These are 3 things that you have the opportunity to provide to students in your programs as STEM educators. When I was 7 years old, I remember sitting in my 2nd grade classroom ready to start science class. My teacher, Mrs. Poland, displayed a diagram of the Earth and its positions around the sun during the different seasons. I was fascinated by it. And from that moment on, I knew that when I grew up, I wanted to do something with space. Little did I know that 10 years later, I would be sitting at the Banana Creek viewing area in Cape Canaveral, waiting for Artemis 1 to launch. So how did a girl from Lincoln, Nebraska get to Cape Canaveral? The short answer is I entered a contest, but there is so much more to it. How did I build the confidence to even consider entering the contest? Well, it began with parent support and after-school programs. I've always been very introverted and reserved, so stepping out of my comfort zone was really hard. As the fourth of 8 children, my parents had always been my biggest supporters. My mom encouraged me to do well in school, prepared and practiced for interviews with me, and helped me reach beyond my comfort zone. My dad was always enthusiastic about my interests and would go outside with me at night and look at the stars or the International Space Station fly by. When I was in 5th grade, my parents enrolled me in an after-school program called Math Counts. Math Counts was a program for middle school students that taught them high school level math. Through this program, I learned a lot, gained confidence, and got the opportunity to compete during the school year. I was also exposed to many amazing teachers and mentors. Mrs. Katopka was one of them, and she taught me how to work in a team and be confident in my work. Over my 3-year participation in this program, I was given the skills and confidence to pursue any endeavor I would have later on. Now, I return in the summers to mentor students in that same program that made such a major difference in my life. Math Counts was also led me to other after-school programs like Quiz Bowl and Brain Brawl. But how did that lead me to the contest? Well, going into high school, I wanted to combine my love for math and science and do it in a club, but there was nothing like that for me at my school. My mom reached out to my guidance counselor, and she was able to connect me with Amelia Tangeman at NASA Nebraska Space Grant and EPSCoR at the University of Nebraska, Omaha. Amelia placed me on a listserv that emailed out weekly information on grants, seminars, and resources. This organization was originally meant for educators to connect them with STEM opportunities for their students. But I used it as a way to learn about opportunities for me to get more involved in STEM learning outside of school time. In December of 2020, there was information about a contest called the Artemis Moonpod Essay Contest. It was a national contest sponsored by an organization called Future Engineers and NASA. What really caught my attention, though, was the grand prize, a trip to Cape Canaveral to watch the Artemis 1 launch. I would have never dreamed of going to a launch before, and that's when I decided I was going to go for it. Between December of 2020 and May of 2021, a lot happened. In March, I found out that I had been chosen as a semifinalist, and in April, I was chosen as one of the 3 finalists. The only stage left before they announced the winner was an interview with the 3 finalists. I remember feeling really nervous about it. The other 2 finalists came from prestigious physics or science schools on the East and West coasts, and I felt like I wouldn't stand a chance against them. I was also the underclassman of the 3 of us, so that made it more intimidating. I was going to be interviewed by NASA directors, experts, and astronauts. This was going to be the biggest interview of my life. I prepared for weeks, and within an hour, it was over. I remember feeling happy and relieved, knowing that everything from there was out of my hands. On May 19th, 2021, I found out that I had been chosen as the National High School Grand Prize winner for the Artemis Moonpod Essay Contest. But that wasn't the end of it. In fact, it was just the beginning. In June of 2021, I was contacted by the Nebraska Children and Families Foundation. They asked if I would like to serve on the Nebraska Million Girls Moonshot Advisory Board. Million Girls Moonshot is a national organization that seeks to engage 1 million girls in STEM learning opportunities through after-school programs over the next 5 years. In Nebraska, the Million Girls Moonshot Advisory Board focuses upon in-state and national resources that can be applied to STEM outreach efforts in Nebraska organizations. We have 4 key priorities: increasing access to STEM framework, establishing an engineering mindset, role models and mentors, and a STEM transition and pathway. Over the last year and a half, I have advocated for girls in STEM and traveled to Austin, Texas to represent the Nebraska Children's and Family Foundation Beyond School Bells program, and Million Girls Moonshot board at the South by Southwest Education Conference. Last summer, I joined an extension of Million Girl Moonshot called Flight Crew, which brought together 16 girls from around the country to learn and develop their skills in sharing their stories and inspiring the next generation to pursue STEM. Besides Million Girl Moonshot, I've also been involved in other efforts to promote STEM. For the past 2 years, I've participated in the After School Alliance's Lights On After School virtual conference, in 2021 as a panelist, and in 2022 as a co-host with a NASA representative. I have also been involved as a youth advisor in Teach for America's Reinvention Lab, where our team determined which schools would receive a $10,000 grant for their unique methods of education and co-creation. Recently, I became an ambassador for the Stories of Space project, which encourages people of all ages to submit their space-related stories to be sent up to the International Space Station for research and the chance to change the way we explore space. I've also been interviewed by Casual Space Podcast with Beth Munn, NPR, and Space.com, the Lincoln Journal-Star, and other media outlets. And of course, I cannot forget the grand prize that caught my attention in the first place. In August of this past year, my parents, my brother, and I headed down to Florida to see the Artemis 1 launch. We woke up around 1 a.m. on August 29th, and we were at the viewing area by 4 a.m. We were very hopeful for the launch, but around 8:30 a.m., the leaks and the problems got the better of the rocket, and it was scrubbed. We spent the rest of the week enjoying Florida, hoping the rocket would launch the following Saturday. The highlight of the trip, though, happened on Friday, September 2nd. I had been asked if I could be interviewed by some media at the Kennedy Space Center. Little did I know that I was in for a big surprise. I had the privilege of meeting and talking with 6 astronauts for 20 amazing minutes, including Anne McClain, who most recently served as a flight engineer on the International Space Station for Expedition 58 and 59. She is currently an instructor astronaut for robotics, extravehicular activities, and Capcom. She is also one of the astronauts in the running to command the next Artemis mission. We talked about astronaut training, the challenges in space, and hilarious stories about microgravity. It was one of the coolest experiences I have ever had in my life. I was also able to tour the facilities at the Kennedy Space Center and go right up next to the rocket on the launch pad with the astronauts. But the next day, our hopes were scrubbed again, and we had to head back to Lincoln on September 4th, where my 3 younger siblings were waiting for our arrival. Even though I had to watch the launch from my couch at midnight in November, the trip was one of the most life-changing experiences I have ever had, and I will never forget it. All in all, I have been given so many amazing opportunities because I decided to go for something that seemed out of reach at the time. My after-school experience with Math Counts shaped the way I approached opportunities and gave me the confidence to take them. After I did that, I wasn't afraid to take them anymore. Now I look to my future dream of becoming an astronaut, and perhaps this will inspire other girls to take the first step towards their dreams. What I hope you all take away from my story is that out-of-school time STEM learning opportunities that you provide to the students in your communities could lead them to developing STEM passions, identities, and eventually maybe even becoming an astronaut. Thank you for the work you do to teach, mentor, and share resources with students across the country.
Alrighty, I hope you all enjoyed that video as much as I did. I realized that Amanda is a rock star and a standout student, but I think a lot of the students that you serve have that potential, and we hope that this is a little bit of inspiration for that. Obviously, a very tough act for me to follow, a great video, and just really impressed with all that she's been able to accomplish. So I don't have too much else other than just really encourage you all, if you haven't already, get connected with your statewide after school networks, see if there's ways that you can partner with organizations that you've heard about over the last 2 days. And we really hope to become a resource for you all and hope that you have learned so much from the tools and resources that have been shared. Thanks, everybody.